Hey, what's up guys? Joker here, and I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Today we're going to be kicking the week off with some leaks of the Intel Core i9-10900K, which has been benchmarked early ahead of embargo by Tech Lab against the Ryzen 3900X and 3950X in a series of productivity benchmarks, as well as 6 different games. So we're going to get fired into all of those leaked benchmarks. Did you just finish building a sweet gaming rig only to have this happen to you? Not to worry, because your CD Key has you covered with Windows 10 Pro licenses for under $18. And if you head over there right now, you could save 20% off with my code JPD20 at checkout. You'll receive your key within seconds, and then just click the start button and type activate to find the Windows activation screen, and all you got to do then is paste your code in. For more info as well as that coupon code, be sure to check out the links down in the description below. So the source of these benchmarks was found over on an Asian website by the name of Bilibili, which is sort of a Chinese version of YouTube by the channel known as Tech Lab, where it appears he got an early retail sample of the 10900K. So this has not come from Intel, which means it very likely has not been cherry-picked or anything like that. So it appears to be completely legitimate. He's got the full retail packaging and the CPU, and for some reason chose to wear a complete twat-looking furry mask. I really don't get the outfit unless you wanted to obscure his identity, but he wasn't sampled by Intel anyway, so I don't know why he's obscuring his identity and wearing this absolute freak show of a mask. It's truly the stuff of nightmare, folks. It's going to be haunting me for the rest of my life. But yeah, as you can see, he's got the legit sample there of the 10900K, benchmarking it against the two Ryzen 9 CPUs, which a lot of people probably want to see this thing benchmarked against, and he's got the full numbers here. We can take a look over on videocards.com, as they've got all of the data over there, kind of gleaned from his video. We can take a look at that data here. You can see here first the specs on his test setup, as I said at the start, for the CPUs, 10900K, 3900X, and 3950X, and it also appears that he was running a 360mm all-in-one cooler from EK Waterblocks on an Intel Z490 motherboard, the X, which is not actually listed as the exact motherboard, but for the AMD CPUs, it was using the MSI X570 godlike motherboard, along with 16 gigabytes of RAM. He was also running an RTX 2080 Ti Hall of Fame edition, which would have been a Galaxy card on an M.2 SSD, along with an 850-watt power supply. So that's the full test setup that Tech Lab was using for his benchmarking. And I'll go ahead and jump into some of the gaming benchmarks now before we take a look at the productivity stuff, because I have a feeling that's probably what most of you are going to be interested in. It looks like for all of his gaming tests, he was testing at 1440p, and here you can see the 10900K. This is Far Cry 5 being benchmarked here. These were all notated over on videocards.com for the games, even though some of all the characters pretty much are in Chinese. But you can see here the 10900K at 1440p is beating the AMD Ryzen CPUs, and that is pretty much the case here across the board in all of the games tested. The only difference there was actually GTA 5, which seemed to favor the Ryzen 9 3900X and the 3950X by about 8 frames per second, but in all of the other games, it was actually favoring the 10900K. This one right here is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which you can see is favoring the 10900K at 71 frames per second, while the 3900X and 3950X tied at 65 FPS. So not a huge margin there. In Metro Exodus, again, winning by about 7 frames per second against the two Ryzen CPUs. And the last two games tested were Tomb Raider 9, which I believe is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, winning by a very small margin there. And then in Borderlands 3, winning by about 1 to 2 frames per second. So really, the margin here between these CPUs is actually not that great at all in terms of gaming performance, which I actually thought it would have been even a little bit bigger on the 10900K, as I would have expected, faster single-core performance and all of that, which it does appear to have. It is, going to be beating these Ryzen processors in single-core performance, and then multi-threaded stuff you would obviously expect it to favor the Ryzen 9 CPUs that have more cores and more threads, which definitely is the case, as we'll see in just a moment. But, the margin here on at least just gaming performance is very small. I mean, we're talking about, at most like 5 to 8 frames per second on a given game here, tested at 1440p. So that is not a huge margin at all, and really shouldn't really weigh into your decision-making on which one of these CPUs you pick up, as it's a very, very small margin between these different processors. So If you're picking one up just for gaming, I guess the 10900K would probably be the way to go. But if you're going to be doing anything multi-threaded, which if you're picking up really any of these CPUs is something that you should be looking at. If you are not going to be using these something intensive that uses the extra cores and threads, I really don't know why you would take a look at it. And as we could see in the other benchmarks here, that definitely seems to favor the Ryzen CPUs, which seem to be a better purchase based on Tech Labs data. If we take a look at Cinebench R20, we could see here the 10900K definitely falls behind with a score of around 6,300 on Cinebench R20, while the 3900X gets a score of 7,009, and the 3950X gets a score of 9,406. On Cinebench R15, again, the 10900K is getting 2671, 3900X is 3109, and 3950X is 4126. And that continues across every single multi-threaded benchmark that you're going to see here. If it requires more threads and more cores in order to be able to get the job done, it is going to favor the processor that has more cores and more threads. It pretty much goes without saying. I don't think these numbers are really going to be earth-shattering or surprising anyone. If you want strictly just game performance, yes, the 10900K is going to be marginally faster, but if you need it for that other stuff, there's really no reason to consider picking up the 10900Ks. You're going to get a better value and better performance out of the extra cores and extra threads for those types of workloads if you can go ahead and leverage it. And if you are strictly doing just gaming, I don't know really why you would be looking to pick up around a $500 processor like the 10900K, as the opportunities to use the 10 cores, 20 threads are going to be few and far between, and you could easily grab yourself something like the i5 10600K or a Ryzen 5 or even a Ryzen 7. There's really no reason to go out and pick something up with, over 8 cores if you're going to be strictly just gaming. So, these benchmarks, really the main thing I think to focus on here is, the multi-threaded workload type stuff, and those definitely are going to favor AMD, as they simply have more cores and more threads to go ahead and throw at the problem. So that's really all I've got for you guys right now. Obviously, we'll be seeing, full reviews coming out from other sources in a few days, and you shouldn't make any purchase decision right now at this time based on just one reviewer who has the product. You should wait to see, other trusted outlets like myself, other channels out there that you trust, or other, websites and stuff that you like to read on for this type of information. So definitely stay tuned for that information, as we're just a few days away from now from seeing the rest of the reviews, hitting the internet. But just based, on these numbers, I don't really think a compelling case is being made for the 10900K. I mean, you're going to have to be in a very specific use case. I mean, they require a new motherboard, so it's not like you can even go from your previous gen motherboard and start using a 10900K, so it doesn't really even have that going for it. If you just wanted to throw on a couple extra cores and threads, if you're, like, say, if you're running a 9900K, like, oh, I could use the extra 4 threads on my, on my system, you're going to have to go out and get a motherboard as well, in which case, if you really need those extra cores and threads, you'd probably be better off getting a Ryzen 9 CPU, whether it's the 3900X or the 3950X. So that's just the data that we have right now. Obviously, I can't reveal any information as far as my own independent testing or other outlets. We just have what Tech Lab has posted, and this is out there in the public based on his retail sample, which obviously he got through whatever means, that he did, maybe in China that he was able to find it and maybe buy it under the counter from a retailer, that got them in early. Maybe he's, knows someone or whatever, or maybe someone made a mistake in the retail chain somewhere and put these things out early. I've seen that happen in the past as well. So, these things happen, and we've got the data now at least, and it's out there in the public for you guys. If you want a link to the sources, I'll leave it down in the description below. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm curious to see, what you think about the 10900K, if it kind of sat exactly where you'd expected it to, and compared against the Ryzen 9 CPUs, which one do you think you'll be picking up if you are in the market for one of these high core count CPUs? I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, though. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video.